What's up, guys? I'm finally back. This time I wanted to keep working on the to-do list actually, but this time I wanted to connect that one to a custom API, because I know a lot of you guys have been talking about a backend version of this, be able to store the data not just using local storage, but actually some kind of database or backend. So I thought, why not just build an API? And this is super improvised, by the way. It's not planned at all. So bear with me here. Let's just do it. Let's just jump into it. So this is the repository. Feel free to create a fork first into your own version so you can, code however you like. I'm just going to clone mine right away. So let's jump into terminal. I'm going to do it from the desktop just to keep things simple. So clone the repository and jump into the folder. Cool. And let's open it up in Visual Studio Code. Use whatever editor you want. Yeah, super nice. So these are the basic files we're using from the previous videos. We have a JavaScript file for all the logic, like 120 lines, I think. Yeah, super simple, not even ECMAScript 6. And very basic styles, CSS file. And this is the HTML, super basic stuff. So we want to create an API, some kind of backend. And I figured, why not use the most popular choice, which is node.js. So if somebody hasn't used that or worked with it, you can download it from nodejs.org. I'm using the 8.9.4 currently, so you can just download that and then you'll be on the same version. For the more advanced people, you can use NVM, Node Version Manager, which is super awesome. You can just switch versions of Node whenever you want. You can install it directly from the GitHub repository. Anyway, so once you have Node installed, you can just check by writing node v, then you get the version. And of course, you can write code right inside of the console. So if you write node, then you can write JavaScript right there, and then it just compiles and runs, which is cool. So exit out, double Control C. All right, so we're going to be using Node and a Node Package Manager, NPM, for this to install everything we need. And the backend is going to be built upon Express, which is a web server for Node. So we're going to npm install --save Express. Then we can just jump into, I think it's .com. Yeah, here it is. And then we have a quick getting started guide right here. Just initialize npm first. That's a pretty good idea. So since we haven't initiated this project, we need to initiate a new npm project. You do that by writing out or typing out npm init, and then you can run a quicker version by using the flag -y. And then that's going to generate a package.json file for you, which is nice. And then this is just the basic information about your npm project or Node project. We're not going to touch this right now. We can do that in another video. Just leave it as it is. Now that we've initialized that, we can do the install. Okay, cool. So npm install --save Express. Nice one. Okay, so that means once you install stuff for Node, they're going to end up in the Node modules folder right there. And I just realized that we're working in the master file or the master branch. So we're going to check out into a new branch, and let's call this API. Right, I can't remember that one. Create new branch. Man, do I look like a complete beginner right now, looking up how to create a new branch. -b, right. Jesus. Cool. I think the project's still open. Yeah, still open. Cool. So git status, we're on API. We have all these untracked files. Super cool. We can just keep working. And This node modules contains all the code for all the modules that we're using, that Express uses, for example, all the dependencies. And we do not want to commit that to Git. That is a super bad idea. Just don't do that. So we're going to create a Git Ignore file, because apparently we didn't do that. And then we can just write out node modules inside of there. And it's going to exclude that. So right here, you can see it's not going to commit the node modules. Cool. And just quick tip. There is actually a project on GitHub called Git Ignore, which has a very, very wide range of templates for Ignore in different kinds of projects. For example, for Haskell, and there is one for Node. Yeah, there it is, that we can use actually. This one contains pretty much everything you use as a standard in a Node project. Then you can customize it however you like. And that includes, of course, the node modules and even environment files. Yeah, cool. So now that we've done that, we can actually commit it and push. Yeah, let's just call that initiated API work. Cool. And we can push right. Nice. So if we check out the repository now, there's actually a new branch called API. You can see there is a couple of new files in here, including the Git Ignore. Super cool. So now that we've done that, we're going to set up the Express script just to make everything work, the web server and the API and stuff. So since Node is JavaScript, we're going to need a JavaScript file. And we're going to do that right here in the root directory. And since this is going to be like what we serve to the users, we're going to have to move that into a different folder. So I thought we could call that, let's have a source folder actually. That's the most standard way of approaching this. And then we have inside the source folder, we have a public folder. And then we move all of our assets for the actual app inside of the public folder. Like that. Okay, cool. So now this is a little bit cleaner. And then inside of the source folder, directly right there, we can create a file called, let's call it index.js. This is going to be the actual API file. And now we're going to pull in Express. So const Express, and this is ECMAScript 6 for those of you who do not know that. We're going to run or write out require Express. That's basically it. Now we've loaded Express into our project. And then to set up the API, we can create a variable called API and then run the Express method like that. And then API.listen on port 3000, for example. Then there is actually a callback for that as well. So once the listen or once the server is set up, that callback function is going to run, and then you can just console log, let's say API up and running, like that. Okay, and let's do our first route for the API. And the routes, for those of you who don't know, is actually specific paths, so to speak, URLs for your server, for your hosting, whatever, or not hosting, domain. And since we're running locally, it's a local host, and we're going to run on port 3000 for this project. So it's going to be localhost :3000. And the route is going to be, subroutes of that. Don't know if that made any sense, but if we write out api.get, that's going to be when somebody gets or runs a GET request for a specific path. And in this case, we want to say the root, which is just /. We want to do something, or we want to say something, present something, whatever. And then in that callback function, we get a request, a response, and if we want to, a next function. But since we're not going to continue on, we're going to stop in there. We're not going to use the next function or next method. Okay, so just for kicks, let's console log the request. And when we want to send back something to the user or to the browser when you're visiting this, we use the response, the res handle, dot and then send, for example, and that's going to send just clear text to the browser or to the user. Let's say hello world. Okay, nice. So if we now run node./source/index.js, so node and the file, API up and running. Cool. And there we go. Localhost 3000, hello world. And if we check out the console, you can see this is all of the data that we get from the request, including, you know, specific parameters, get query parameters, you get the headers and everything. That's super useful, but a bit overkill right now, at least. So let's just kill that. But yeah, so that's the very basic start for how you set up the API using Express. And then we're going to just build upon this by adding new routes for managing the requests for when you add, remove, complete to-dos and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a good start. Thank you for watching. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. I do pretty much daily posts there. And of course, contribute to the repository, create your own version and share your code. I love seeing other people's versions of this. This is awesome. So anyway, take care guys. Till next time.